simple things that we should know, we should remember about Srimad Bhagavatam, because that's what we are discussing here in these sessions. Srimad Bhagavatam was composed by Sri Vyasacharya. This is something that's very common knowledge to all you Bhagavatas, I know. And some of you might have heard about the story of how Sri Vedavyas Maharishi, Vyasacharya, was inspired to compose this Srimad Bhagavatam by Sri Narada Maharishi. How he gave his own charitra, his own life story as an example, which we will see, the story we'll see again for the benefit of those Bhagavatas who did not attend Shardaji's class. And some of you might know about that. So Vyasacharya was the one who composed Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam, another most important thing that we have to remember is, Srimad Bhagavatam is mostly in the form of a conversation between Sri Shukacharya, who was the son of Sri Vyasacharya, and King Parikshit. And who is King Parikshit? King Parikshit is the son of Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is the son of Arjuna. Who is Arjuna? He is one of the 5 Pandavas. So Parikshit is the grandson of Arjuna. And he is also the nephew's son of Krishna. You know, Krishna's nephew. Abhimanyu was Krishna's nephew. And Parikshit was related to Bhagavan Krishna also through his grandmother Subhadraji. Right? So these are, I'm just giving a very broad outline of some things, because when we start using these names, we should be able to recognize them. And I know these are very simple, and all of us have been in satsang for so long, we know most of these things. But I'm just reiterating these small points so we remember this, right? So this is Srimad Bhagavatam. It has 12 cantos in all, and it focuses on Krishna Leela completely in the 10th canto. And we have mostly Srimad Bhagavatam is like a compilation of various Bhakta Charitras. So we find lot of Charitras in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is called a Purana. There is something called a Itihasa and something called a Purana, right? Itihasa, examples for Itihasa are Mahabharata and Ramayana. Puranas are 18 in number, and Srimad Bhagavatam was the final Purana to be compiled and composed by Sri Vedavyas Maharishi. See, be it Itihasa or be it Purana, if you look at our scriptures, the beauty is Itihasa and Purana, they are history, right? Purana is very ancient history, and Itihasas generally deal with, you know, a particular history. For example, Mahabharata deals with the Dwapara Yuga and with the reigning of the Pandavas and their family story. So it's their charitra, it is their history. And if you look at Ramayana, it discusses the life of Sri Ramachandra Prabhu and in Treta Yuga, right? So it covers those aspects. But if you look at Puranas, like Srimad Bhagavatam, it covers history right from the beginning of this creation. So it discusses everything, right from how this world was created and what happened after that, how all these beings came into being. It discusses everything. So it's very ancient history. But the beauty of our scriptures lies in the fact that it records history in a very different way, right? So we all study history in our school, and most of the history that we know of is what was written by some person with their limited knowledge, I should say. Because how much ever we dig, how much ever we try to find about the past, it's not going to be easy. We are not going to get a very perfectly clear picture about it. So a lot of it is going to be assumption, and it could also be people's perception of things or ideas about how it could have been at the, in those past days. So if we look at the history that we study in our school, in our textbooks and all, they mostly focus on data, right? It depends on the date and the data. Like when things happened, who did those things, what happened, and that is the kind of focus we have in the history that we study. But our ancient sages and seers, right? In satsang, we call them, spiritual scientists, right? So these sages and seers, spiritual scientists, they also recorded history for us. But the advantage and the greatness of these sages and seers lies in the fact that their knowledge was not limited. They had such jnana, they could see the past, they could see through the future. They had that kind of uncanny abilities because they were jnanis, they were great mahatmas. So their rendering of history is actually very perfect. And another beauty in the history that we learn from our scriptures lies in the fact that this history is not just based on time or people or just some data. It focuses more on what we can learn from the past. So if something is discussed in our scriptures, be it Mahabharata, be it Ramayana, be it our Bhagavatam, or Varaha Purana or Vishnu Purana, you take any Purana, if you look at it, it does not discuss exactly the date or the time in which an incident occurs, but it rather focuses much on how the people, were at that time. For example, if it discusses about Prahlada Charitra, time of Prahlada or Hiranyakashipu, or time of Dhruva and Uttanapada, the king, it discusses about the king and their kingdom also. At the same time, it tells us about the people, about how they were, and what we can learn from their life. That's the beauty, right? So that is how Bhagavatam is also composed. It has lot of stories, and the beauty of Bhagavatam is Srimad Bhagavatam emphasizes a lot on just listening, just Shravana.